You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast to exclusively have Neil's head on a mountain or studio. It's true. We're not sorry about it either. I am Jason the Angry Ginger Jedi guy. I'm the guy that has the mount. Matt, who's coming up in a minute, he's the guy that killed him. Go after him. Broadcasting live from inside Wookiee Poo Studios. And speaking of the guy with the mount, or the killer, is Darth Matthews.
I thought you were going to say you're the one that has the mount. Matt is the one who mounted him.
You yelled at me about the kids a few weeks ago, and I'm scarred. So.
Oh, man. Good to talk to you, Jay. We got a fun episode today that I'm really excited about because we got a guest on. We're going to take a break here from Skeleton Crew this week and do something a little bit different. We'll wrap up our Skeleton Crew stuff next week when we do kind of a look back and do our giveaway and all that. But it'll be a fun one today. If you want to find our show from acertainpointaskew.com on all social media accounts at FactPapod, you can email us factpapod@gmail.com, and you can leave us a voicemail. Love those voicemails, so please leave us a voicemail. 678-FACPA77. That's 678-322-7277. I probably said it too fast for Chewbubba.
1 6.
Yeah. See, and if you're on like 2 times speed, it'll sound normal.
Nailed it.
That's what we should do. We should
talk. That's what I was going for.
We should talk slower for the people that do speed up our show.
I struggle with that. I've had people who tell me that they listen to podcasts at like 2 times speed, but they can't listen to me on 2 times because I already talk too fast.
Well, I listen at time and a half to pretty much every podcast. Sometimes if it's real, if people talk real fast, I'll go to 125. But 1.5 is a nice one. But you got to be paying attention.
Yeah.
But you're right. Once you go listen to them in normal time, you're like, oh, they sound drunk. They're so slow. I was going to make a reminder here that the FACPA stories, pulling those together, we did get one.
Got
one in, but we'd like to get maybe at least 4 if possible, but pulling that together as quickly as possible. February 7th is Star Wars Podcast Day, so we're trying to pull it together before that. So if you have a story you want to give us, even if it's a short one or it's a partial story, we'll take it, and we will help you massage that thing into a beautiful audio experience.
We'll knead it into a new Neil.
Oh, you're just stuck on Neil today.
Hey, have you finished a sentence yet on yours?
God, no.
No?
No. I'm starting to think I'm going to have to aim for May. I don't think
you just need a really strong, powerful first sentence.
That's right. It's all that first sentence.
So that's what we want. All listeners, find us on any of our social medias and just give Matt that first powerful sentence.
I like this as an idea, not necessarily for me because you're the better writer, but if somebody wants to give us like a good first opening sentence that we have to take and create a story with, that could be kind of fun.
Okay.
Kind of a wild card story.
Yeah.
Just give us one sentence that starts it out. And if you just say something like, the sun rose, I'm going to be pissed because that's not going to help. But if you give us a little taste of something with a sentence.
Yep. Even if you have to do more than one, but just send it in, get us started.
That's right. We'll give you some partial writing credit if you do that. All right. What's on the show today, Jay?
Ooh, better. They have to give us the sentence or two that starts it and then the closing line.
Oh, so that we have to fill in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Somebody could do that.
And we'll paint that picture for you.
Yeah, all over the place. All over the walls. Wait.
Ooh. Oh, so it's we're a wordy Pollock is what we're going to be. 2024. Nope, I started a little late there. Okay, so on the show today, we got question of the week, more Mandalorian and Grogu film plot rumors. In the news, quite a few things here. Gosling and Levy's Star Wars film. Sigourney Weaver's role in Mando Grogu film. I think you're all going to be pleased. Padme. You in or you out? That's what she asked Anakin. Cal Kestis live action? Sorry, I'm in my own world over here.
Took me a while to swallow there. That's what she said.
Well, she said that too.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Great start.
I can't turn it off once it starts.
Move on.
All right. And then did I say we have the 2024 biggest Star Wars moments and 2025 predictions with Alberto from Radio Rebellion.
So, question of the week. I said, according to rumors, the plot of the Mandalorian and Grogu film includes Embo as the main villain kidnapping Rhoda the Hutt. Think you can do better? Give us your best wild plot for the Mando Grogu film. First up, Brown Leader. Get used to him. He's going to be here quite often during these answers.
But he lives in these.
I love all the answers he gives us. Rhoda the Hutt is furious that Boba Fett has claimed his father's territory on Tatooine and wants it for himself. He hires Embo to infiltrate Boba's ranks, while Rhoda builds an army to take Tatooine back by force. Din Djarin helps Boba defend his holdings and find the spy amongst Boba's inner circle. The movie culminates in an Avengers-style Endgame-style battle with the mods forming a Megazord, Go Boba Rangers, around the body of Boba's Rancor to defeat the Hutt army. Wow. Well done.
Oh.
Megazord.
Wow. I like that. At the very least, I could see this being like a robot chicken skit.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's actually a great way to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Max Rebo, somehow tech returns. Oh, boy.
Oh.
Here we go. But it's not Tech. It's his evil clone, Tik.
Oh, boy.
Tik is looking to gain access to the Force and needs Grogu's blood because of his extraordinary M counts. After several close calls, the movie ends with Tik falling off a cliff.
Oh.
Jesus. He just has to do it. Just has to kneel me.
It's his destiny.
Brown leader again. Mon Mothma resigns in disgrace after critics accuse her of supporting At-Atten with military support, but not Navarro, because she was after the wealth stored there versus protecting a poor trading planet. Oh, interesting.
Doesn't sound like her at all.
They do get to At-Atten awfully quickly. She tries going into podcasting and gets a job at Bantha Poodoo Studios. She starts to fall for the hot-headed, passionate ginger boss, but won't dishonor her marriage. Soon, Perrin goes missing, and she hires Din Djarin to find him, not knowing it was her boss that was behind the kidnapping.
Oh, I'm glad you kept reading this.
That's pretty good.
Fantastic plot.
Adelphi Rangers. When last we see them, Mando and Grogu signed up to help the Adelphi Rangers clean up the outer rim of bad guys. I would like to see an action movie where they are joined by Carson, Zeb, and Cara Dune, recast or not, taking out pockets of imps. But all it does is push the survivors to Thrawn. Ooh, bum bum bum. He wants Carson Teva. He's probably pissed off. I mean, we talked about that last week. He thought, I'm sure, once X-Wing showed up in that series, he was going to get him. And he's
thought that was going to be the tie-in, right?
Yeah, you got to bring the guy. Yeah. Brown leader, again, make it a jumping off point for an Adelphi Ranger series. Carson Teva retires his beloved X-Wing and takes command of a new shiny B-Wing. # B-Wing supremacy.
Are these all the same fucking person?
They're all in a line.
They've all got Carson going on here.
Yeah, they line up nicely. Brian Hour, Grogu adventures after walking into the adult entertainment establishment. Sorry.
What?
Grogu adventures after walking into the adult entertainment establishment while Din is at the cantina drinking spotchka and mumbling that he could have been a contender. Garza Fwip discovers she has a thing for ears and Grogu rises to the occasion.
Wow.
She can just hold on to those
We're
ears.
going to see this on Cinemax.
One more from Brown Leader. 2 hours of Easter eggs, Grogu, new characters, current characters, and new outfits, and new ship designs to launch new toys and collectibles to supplement the income loss on Disney Plus productions and streaming costs. Boy, he and his cronies would love that because they do that collection corner every week on their show.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They collect so much stuff. It's unbelievable. Did I tell you how I stubbed them one time? I went on their live stream and in the comments in YouTube, and I said, my question is, there's a fire. You can only take one. One item of your collectibles out, the rest will perish. And a couple of them were shook. They were like, well, I can't do that.
Only one? I think they'd die in the fire with their stuff.
They would, gripping them all.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. Finally, Max Rebo says, I do foresee a prologue where Mando and Grogu are on Port Borgo tracking a bad guy, and the Skeleton Crew's capture happens in the background.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Grogu tries to get Mando to help them, but he says it's none of their business and moves on. Yeah, I like that. By the way, when he said this, Brown Leader responded and said, and if Grogu and Neil locked eyes for a split second, it would light the fandom on fire.
Oh,
or better yet, they bump into each other and we have a single shot of the two of them in frame, merchandising gold. I was like, man, you put those two on the screen together and just the joy that emanates from that would end the energy crisis. I mean, it would be fantastic.
What if they made like one of those split movies?
Oh, so it's two.
So it's like Grogu and Neil, they switch spots accidentally. So Grogu ends up back on the planet at Atten. And Neil ends up the Grogu to Mandalorian for an episode or two.
Right. This is a hodgepodge of Face Off and Like Father, Like Son, and all those movies.
That's exactly. Yeah. I think I just found my story to write.
There it is. Great answers. You all get entries. News. So let's start off with the hottest news this week. And I do mean hot. Dripping hot. Ryan Gosling reportedly close to signing on to be in Sean Levy's Star Wars project. When I saw it, I looked like at 50 different things to be like, this is a joke. I thought for sure it was a joke. But I'll say it Fuck yeah. I love Ryan Gosling, and I think he is a great fit to pull this off. He's got he kind of has an edge to him. He used to do all these like weird kind of offbeat movies when he first started out, when he could have easily gone the rom-com route all the way if he wanted to and made $1 billion.
The McConaughey route after he quit doing rom-coms, just picked up where he left off.
That's right.
Yeah. What's the I can't think of the name. What's the movie where he's like the doesn't say a lot but has was it like the scorpion on his jacket and he's the driver?
Drive. Yes.
That scene in the elevator alone is fucking cinematic gold.
It is
the
visceral.
lighting change and the way that the wide like that is
And she just sits there and watches it and is like disgusted by him.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, Oh God. Yeah. That is a great movie.
Yeah.
He does good stuff. I just think he's got some decent range. I mean, I think you look at him and think, oh, he's a pretty face and he's a movie star, but he's got pretty good range. I could see him totally doing this. I thought he was great. He's done sci-fi. So I thought he was great in Blade Runner 2049.
He was. Yeah.
So I am all about this. And it sounds like it's not going to be it's not going to be connected to the Star Wars saga. It's meant to be a standalone movie that Levy's doing. That's what
I don't believe it.
Part of the reports. Given that, at one point Levy talked about Rey being involved in this.
Yes.
But if Gosling's in there, will she or won't she? I don't know that she will. This might just be centered around him in a different story. You think she'll be involved also?
Well, we need some steam in the Star Wars universe. Ooh. Could you see that?
You could, so essentially like she's still heartbroken about Ben.
He's the father.
I don't know, man. And here's the other thing. We talked about this, the rumors, maybe last week or the week before, but that Levy was saying how it might happen this fall. There was talk about, this, like he's clearing his calendar. This could start filming this fall.
I thought it was this spring.
No, I think it's this fall that he was talking about, putting it into production.
Right.
Which if you do that lines up nicely for that Christmas 2027
Sure
slot.
does.
So I don't know. I think that could be, that could work. Are you good with Gosling being in this?
Yeah, I'm struggling to picture what kind of character he'd be perfect for, but I think this is definitely a franchise that he could do really well with.
Yeah. I don't picture him as a Jedi. I picture him as more like a kind of a free agent type guy, I don't think he's going to be part of a republic or anything like that. He's not going to be an officer of any sort. He's going to be kind of his own guy on his own.
Maybe he'll be one of Palpatine's clones.
Oh, man. Don't do that. You imagine? He would have just stopped. He'd be like, I got it. I nailed it. Don't need any more.
First time I did it. The whole movie's that. Or no, it's the end of it. He dies and he's like, God damn it. Let's get all these stations running.
Yeah, he loses Gosling, the handsome one. He's like, fuck. And then Snoke walks in. I'm still good, Dad.
He's
like,
man.
Get out of here.
He just starts treating him like a stepchild.
Oh, why can't you look like him? No, that's what it is. He is Snoke. That's what he looked like before he got all disfigured.
Right. He was just a beautiful man.
Right. Next item, Jeff Schneider with dropping more rumors, talking about Sigourney Weaver and her role in the upcoming Mando Grogu film.
Hold on. You know how they're always changing the sex of characters?
Yeah.
What if they cast him and it comes out that he's Mara Jade?
Oh, fuck. People lose their mind. At some point, she's got to show up.
Right, but he's somebody's so pretty. They're like, I can buy it.
Somebody's going to take that stab at some point. It's got to happen. Unless maybe that's a clause written into the sale when Lucas sold it, like no Mara Jade ever.
No, because rumor has he doesn't like the character.
Right.
Yeah.
So Sigourney Weaver. It sounds like the rumor that Schneider is sharing is that her name's going to be Bishop and that she's going to be a colonel in the New Republic. Now, two things. One, Bishop is the name of the android in Aliens that she hated. Lance Hendrickson's character. So a bit of a nod. The other, how do you feel about her being this role? Or did you want her to be a bad guy? You know what I mean? Being a colonel in the New Republic.
I'm struggling to see her in this universe in the first place.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know what I would buy her as. So I guess I have to kind of I can see like a military role more than anything. Like I don't see her throwing on a bunch of makeup and getting into the action scenes.
Right. I think that's right. I think she's just going to be herself.
Yeah.
You know, in uniform.
Right.
He did say it's allegedly not a huge role, just a few scenes. But I don't know. Maybe, I guess if you have her in that kind there's other people they've done that with quite a bit. I mean, like you think about even small roles like Titus Welliver in Mandalorian. He was the guy
Right.
who bites down on the
electric
pills.
cyanide cap. Yep.
Great actor. Could have used him. Could have done a lot with that character
Right.
or him as an actor. But they're
That's
just like,
true.
nope, we just needed him for 3 minutes.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd, exactly. All about those droids.
Yep. Yeah. I wonder. Yeah. I keep struggling to think, like, what is she going to do in this movie? Maybe there's a flashback for Grogu. Maybe they kind of, I mean, they gave you Mando's backstory, but not really.
Yeah.
So I could see her being like a parental figure to or an elder to their group or something. I don't know.
I think it's going to be one of those where it's just, she's going to be somehow involved in some scenes where maybe she's the one who's like, we shouldn't be doing X, Y, or Z. And Carson Teva's like, come on, well then I'm going to go rogue and do this. It's going to be one of those. Is she just like the stern, serious Republic commander?
She's like the captain of the, give me your badge and gun. And Carson's like, never.
And Adelphi Rangers is mouthing the words.
Yeah.
Rewind, play
He
again.
better have popcorn over his lap. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, next up is another fun rumor that came out this past week was that Natalie Portman was close to signing a deal to be in Ahsoka season 2, and then about 2 hours later, they're like, no, just kidding.
Shot down.
I don't know. I was thinking, like, do we just kind of sit and stew with this idea of Natalie Portman being in the Clone Wars flashback? I'm trying to think, because then there were reports after that where it sounded like, well, it's not off the table. Like, that still could happen. And then there was a thing that came out today that you flagged that she apparently shot a couple scenes, or at least one scene
For Kenobi.
For Kenobi, that they ended up on the cutting room floor.
Right. Which
means she's open to it.
That's a lot to throw on the cutting room floor. Like, that's a lot of money that they threw on the cutting room floor.
Well, and it sounds to me like it's one of those where the scene happened and the powers that be went, this isn't the time. This doesn't work.
Right.
Just to bring her back for this little bit, let's not do it. Let's save her for a bigger
if
moment.
the Ahsoka stuff goes back and does flashbacks, maybe they can pull that or expound upon it or something, or make it like you're right. Like, cameo doesn't work, but let's flesh it out. Also, if anything, if they're going to do a more flashback and they want to humanize Anakin, right? Because he is the big villain. It would probably do some good to, maybe they're both better actors. I mean, they're not set against green screen. It would be kind of interesting to see these two and their chemistry now after all of these years.
It can only be better.
Yeah. Right.
No offense. I think at some point you have to do it. I just don't. And maybe they're just waiting for the right spot to do that, to say, okay, this makes the most sense.
I hope they go with my idea. I hope this is where you find out there was a third.
Right. The third baby.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the one. She didn't actually die. She took the third baby.
That's
and went
what.
somewhere else.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
she was in hiding. Last item. It was Cal Kestis. So it kind of wouldn't be a week if we didn't have a Star Wars rumor from your boy Daniel Richtman.
Right.
And he said recently that Lucasfilm was working on bringing Cal Kestis to live action, either in a series or a film. And I kind of think you need to take this one with a grain of salt, because I could see them grabbing Cameron Moynihan, who's the model for the character and the voice, and doing this, but they still have another video game to come. Jedi Fallen Order, or whatever it's going to be called, the third game.
Right. There's no film coming out until after that game, but I
wouldn't think so.
He could easily pop up in the Mandalorian movie or somewhere.
You think that could happen as a cameo, but then they're still going to, because that third game is probably not going to get that for 2 years. Or
Right.
A year.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I think they could get away with that. That's a nice tease and something they could build toward later.
And the only other thing I thought about it was, I don't know if you do like some sort of whole series, or you kind of telling his whole story in that video game.
Yeah.
For the most part. And so maybe it's more of or maybe they do it like how Mandalorian season 2 did with Ahsoka. It's like you give him an episode of another show, like essentially where he shows up on another show as like a backdoor pilot.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I can see them doing that. Test out the character, see how.
Yeah, like they did with Ahsoka. She just shows up whooping ass.
Right, and then Bo-Katan shows up, and they're like, "Well, we could do more with this character." They kind of kept introducing new people. So.
Right. Yeah, I can see him doing that.
Okay, well, that was it for news.
That's it.
That was all our news items.
Nailed it.
Let's go to have a chat with Alberto Calderon from the Radio Rebellion podcast. We're going to get into our favorite moments and things that happened with Star Wars in 2024, and we're going to talk some predictions, serious or not, for 2025. So we'll go to that now. Okay, joining us today is somebody I've been wanting to have on the show for quite a long time, and so I'm glad we finally have him. It's Alberto Calderon from the Radio Rebellion podcast. How's it going, Alberto?
Going well. Thanks for having me, Jason and Matt over there. I'm very happy to be here. It's always fun when you guys jump in on the chat. So thanks for having me here, I should say.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We've interacted a lot on Twitter and listened to each other's shows a bit. And whenever I get a chance, and I know you guys are doing a lot because you do your live show on YouTube. I try to jump in there and weigh in and chat a little bit. But yeah, why don't you tell everybody who doesn't know about your show, Radio Rebellion, and kind of when you guys started and what you guys typically cover.
Yeah. So we started, actually, we're going to be going to our 5-year anniversary. This, when we come back, we're taking a little bit break at the moment. So 5 years, which does seem like a long time, and it is a long time. We do live YouTube shows every weekend, usually on Saturdays. We have to do some on Fridays just because I have kids and kids have sports. And of course, they're on Saturdays. Yep. So we're doing some shows on Fridays, but usually drop everything Saturdays. We cover everything Star Wars, just as most people out there do. Book reviews, TV reviews, movie, news items, anything, and any special topic we might want to discuss. We've been fortunate enough to have a couple of Star Wars book authors on our show recently. So those are always fun. I have my co-host, Oti, who he comes in and out. He's there for most of the time, but he has like 3 other shows that he has to do. So
wow,
I'm always glad when he's there. But if not, I'll be there by myself. Try to get some guests sometimes. So we'll plan something. I'll have you guys on when we come back at some point this year.
That'd be great. Yeah, you mentioned OT. I have heard on occasion him drop the occasional bomb, but you tend to keep it pretty clean when it comes to the podcast. And I was just going to tell you today, you're in a safe space, Alberto. If you want to swear and want to drop a bunch of expletives, this is the time.
Yeah,
that's fine. Sometimes I come out on my show and then my kids are, oh, you did this, you did that, you did the other thing. So I try to keep it clean just because I know they'll watch it eventually.
They can hear you.
But I let Oti drop 1 or 2. He knows it's like PG-13. You can drop 1 F-bomb and we're still in line. But if I'm visiting someone's show, let the expletives fly. I'm fine with it. I'm not going to be a Puritan here saying, no, I can't deal with it. I'm fine. I'm fine either way.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned having authors on your show because you do book reviews as well, right?
Yes.
I'm impressed you can read. We don't read at all over
we're
on this
terrible
show.
about our reading.
Yeah, I mean, they're not just for show. I know there are some books on my background here, but I've been fortunate enough to have 3 authors so far on the show. And it's been very fun and something I never expected I had the opportunity to do. So I'm extremely glad and appreciative when I'm able to get those figured out.
But don't you also do like written book reviews on your site? Yeah.
Yeah. So on our radiorebellion.com.wordpress, whatever, you can find it on my link tree. Every book that I read, I try to do a written review, usually spoiler reviews for people out there. You haven't read them, sorry. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I try, especially if there are books that I receive advanced copies for. I do those reviews online, and then I try to also do a review on our show. Just to,
that's cool.
If I get something, I want to make sure I get enough word out there to let the people know what's coming out.
Now, what do you do? What do you do if you get a book and you're like, I'm not feeling it? Do you just write back and be like, I didn't get that one in the mail?
No. I'm honest in my reviews. I won't, at the same time, I'm not going to say this book is crap and the author doesn't know what they're doing. I can write a better Star Wars book than whatever it's out there officially.
Sure.
But I would say, hey, I divide my reviews into the story, characters, how it expands Star Wars, how it connects to canon, ease of reading, and then general. And sometimes some are more than other. I'll tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of Timothy's Son.
Yeah.
Some of the last Thrawn books I didn't gel with, and I was honest on my reviews. And thankfully, I'm still getting some advanced copies, so I haven't been taken off the list yet.
You're keeping them honest.
Yeah.
And then I was also, when I was looking around your site, didn't you write some as well? Is that correct?
So yes, I self-published 2 books. I wrote a fantasy one called Earthia. I can't remember, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And then I did a science fiction one called Ad Astra, book one of and I forgot. I can't believe I forgot my own book.
Is it on there?
Across the Horizon. Let me show it to you real quick.
You got a signed copy of it and everything?
Yeah.
So this is one, Across the Horizon.
Oh, cool.
Ad Astra as the first one. I mean, the second one. And then I'm just dropping stuff back here on Earth. Yeah, this is the...
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so...
Well, I was
going to have
gonna
ideas. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, you may have heard us mention. You might have heard we had a couple of episodes last year where we do what we call fact stories, kind of based on from a certain point of view style books with the short stories. So it's a little bit late in the process because we're trying to pull some together for Star Wars Podcast Day on February 7th. We'll probably also do another volume closer to Star Wars Day in May. So if you want to if you want to do any little writing and do some little short story stuff, we'd love to have it.
We love it.
Yeah, I mean, I only done one kind of Star Wars base, my own story. So yeah, I wouldn't mind trying to do something with you guys. So if you give me a
very cool
bit more time and information, I can work on it.
I will give you that for sure. That'd be awesome. One other thing, and before we get into what we're going to talk about today, is just whenever I have somebody new on the show, I like to kind of get into their origins for Star Wars fandom. So kind of when did you first start watching or following or reading or whatever Star Wars, and kind of how did you get into it?
5 years ago.
The week before his podcast.
Yeah. It's like, what? There's a lot of stuff.
Scrolling the TV and I saw a little movie called Star Wars, and it just opened my eyes. No, so there's not two versions, but I guess the story is divided in two parts. I want to say I vividly remember, but I was 3 years old, so most likely I don't vividly remember. But my first memory of watching Star Wars or watching any movie in the theater was watching Return of the Jedi in 1983 when I was 3 years old. My memory is that I was sitting in my mother's lap crying as Jabba the Hutt was on screen because I couldn't deal with that giant slug and me being 3 years old. I didn't follow Star Wars then. I can't say that I did. But then Star Wars was just through my life for the whole entirety of it, just either on TV, we had the VHS. So I did like Star Wars. I've always loved science fiction and fantasy, so it was part of my life. Not to the point like it is now.
Sure.
But when the special editions came out in 96, 97, whenever they were, I was able to go back and watch all three in the theaters. Yeah. Not an adult, as a 16, 17-year-old. And it just exploded my mind. I just seeing them in the big screen again, or basically for the first time, was an extremely new experience. And seeing it as a young adult also, I picked up different things from it. It just wasn't, a cool lightsaber fight. It was more into it. So at that point, it was the special editions that really pushed me into the fandom. And then that just continued for the next 30 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you were kind of at best a casual fan before you went and saw those re-releases, those remastered versions.
Yeah, it was a point back in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, where I was more into Star Trek and not to start a Star Wars versus Star Trek debate.
We don't say that word on this show.
The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and all that stuff. So I was more into Star Trek at the moment, but still loving Star Wars and remembering all the characters and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just going back and watching the special edition in the theaters. And I remember Empire Strikes Back, just watching that there, knowing full well what the reveal is. But I don't know, something about that experience, it just blew my mind. I said, what the hell have I been doing for the past 20 years, thinking that Star Trek was better than this? Oh, Star Wars, of course.
Right.
So it just took over my life, and it's tattooed over my body. It's taken over my office, my whole life. So my 2 dogs are named after Star Wars characters or items. So yeah, it was a big move at that point.
What's your wife's nickname?
No. Not that far. Not that far.
Okay.
Yeah, what's your safe word?
Jabba.
Jabba. Oh, God.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you for sharing that. So the reason we had you on was we decided we kind of wanted to look back a little bit at 2024 Star Wars and kind of go over some of our favorite moments.
In Star Trek.
And Star Trek. And Stargate. Everything. Yeah. It was funny because when I was thinking about 2024, I was thinking how we got got quite a lot last year. As much as I think we sometimes feel like we're not getting as much because we have this insatiable appetite for Star Wars.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was like just looking through the list of stuff we got. It's quite a lot. And so it's one of those things where that's when I see that and I know some things weren't as well received as others. But the people that'll get into the whole like, oh, Star Wars is dead thing, I'm like, no, it's not. It's very much alive. There's a lot of stuff coming out and we got quite a bit. I mean, between 2 live action series, 2 animated series, a video game, a ton of announcements, all that stuff, a lot of books. I just think there's so much there to unpack. So I thought, well, why don't we go through and kind of do like a little round robin and just share some of our favorite Star Wars moments. And there's probably going to be a little bit of overlap, but that's okay. But yeah, since you're the guest, Alberto, do you want to start and share one of your biggest Star Wars moments of 2024?
Sure. I'll echo what you said. When I was starting to make my list, I just started going through all the things that came out. It's like, yeah, we're so used to now just constantly getting more Star Wars. And yeah, maybe it was a down year. Actually, no. Yeah. If you consume like movies and TV shows, books, video games, comic books, it just keeps going and going. So just to start off, one of my biggest surprises this year, it was because I didn't really enjoy too much the first 2 seasons, was season 3 of The Bad Batch. That took me by surprise. Season 1, I was like kind of lukewarm on it. Mm-hmm. Even Omega was a character, not that I didn't hate her, but I didn't see the big infatuation that everyone had with her. The finale was okay. Season 2 got me a little bit closer, but still it was an average show for me. So when season 3 came out, my expectations were extremely low. But even from episode 1 all the way to the finale, The Bad Batch season 3 just knocked it out of the park, created a great character in Omega, a great character in Crosshair, and the arcs that those 2 went through, and of course with Hunter and everyone else on record dealing with Tech's death, just blew me out of the water how much you could do on not an animated show, but like a 22-minute episodes. A lot of people sometimes complain about, the live action shows are so short, they're like 35 minutes episode, 40 minutes instead of 1 hour. But when you can do what they did in Bad Batch in 22, 26 minutes, it shows you how impressive those creators are, the writers, the voice actors, everyone. So season 3 of The Bad Batch for me, I think was the biggest surprise of this past year.
We've already had overlap. I'm going to let you go next, Jay, but I'll just chime in with my thoughts on that, and I'll move on and cross that one off my list. But yeah, I think the reason you maybe struggled, well, a couple things. One is I think maybe it took a little getting used to Omega for some people.
Omega?
The voice and everything. The first 2 seasons, they had a lot of those kind of offshoot missions that weren't part of the main story. Whereas season 3, there's hardly any fat on that one at all. Like it is just straight through from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I mean, the 2 things that stood out the most to me when I was thinking about that in season 3 was one, Crosshair's character arc. The fact that from where he even comes in episode, the first season, but in the 3rd season, he starts out as just this, guilt-ridden, I don't deserve to live prisoner, to becoming, a hero again. And a lot of that has to do with his relationship building with Omega and how those 2 come together and become so tight. I mean, he's the first one she hugs in the end, after that sequence with, what would we always call him? Hargrove? Is that what we always called him?
Hargrove.
Hemlock is his name. We always call him Hargrove for some reason.
Everyone gets a nickname.
Real quick, in that point, because in season 2, I was on the Keep Crosshair Bad Bandcamp. Mm-hmm. I didn't want him redeemed. I thought he was a great villain. But what they did again in season 3 from that first episode, you're like, no, I don't want him to die. I want him to come back and be happy at the end.
Right.
So yeah, that character arc for Crosshair was just great. But then you have to go through the whole show, kind of suffer on my end through those first seasons to get to where we are. Because if we just go straight to season 3, you don't have that impact.
Right. Yeah. You don't have the character growth. So you wouldn't give a shit what happens. And by the end, and I don't know are you done, Matt?
Just about.
Okay.
I can finish real quick. I'm just going to say, yes, Crosshair, the most intriguing character, I think, of the whole show. And then the other piece of that was just that end scene with him having to work with Hunter to essentially save their sister / daughter, and her trusting Crosshair to make the shot and all that. That whole episode, I rewatched it recently, and I was like, God, I forgot how emotional this is. Like, it got to me.
Yeah.
I think like the finale of Rebels got to me a bit too, but not like this one. Bad Batch really blew me away. And I think because of the fact that it felt like going in, this is a series none of us asked for. Why are we making a series out of these guys?
Right.
And then it ends up being arguably, I think, one of the best, if not the best animated series they've done.
Well, we're more of it because I've got, but mine's all. I mean, this season as well. It's the dad batch versus like that clone batch, right? The very bad batch where they're all just a bunch of badasses, and Crosshair loses his fucking hand there.
Yeah.
Isn't it Hunter? We think he's gonna get stabbed in the chest, or he get like they all kind of get their asses handed to him by these guys and kind of get out of it. Luckily, it's the clone guy. What is it, CX2 or something?
Yeah.
He ends up fucking everything up, and they destroy Mount Tannis, right?
Yeah.
So they blow everything up. And it's not Hargrove, because Hargrove's the one on the bridge that gets shot.
Correct.
It's my bad boys moment, right? Hey, Fouché, and he fucking shoots him.
Yeah. But the lab scene is the one with Nala Se, where she gets her hero moment and blows up all the data with what's his name, Rampart.
Yeah, Rampart. Yeah, and he's talking shit.
Yeah,
you think, oh man, they all get it, man. Yeah,
there you go. Rampart was so bad. He's so horrible. And because he went in with them or whatever that last season, and there was a little bit of like, oh, maybe he's going to help out our heroes because he's so mad. No, he ended up being exactly who he thought he was, which I thought was a good way to deal with him.
Yeah. And those two didn't even like each other. They had like a bad guy versus bad guy moment.
I think it's the beginning of the last episode, or maybe the second to last. They have this discussion where he's in the jail cell and they're talking to each other. It's a great scene. Them going back and forth, kind of basically saying like, "You're an idiot. I've got the inside track. You know what you're doing." The other one saying, "I think it's the other way around." It's pretty good.
It's De Niro and Pacino in Heat.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Kind of.
I mean, there's that, and then we end with Omega. She's older. She's going off to join the resistance, the rebellion, do her thing. We see Hunter waiting around, like, he's still dad, worried about his kid. And let's not forget, we got Ventress. She came back for that. And she kind of gave a little bit of a little Jedi training, but didn't, and they left it kind of open whether we still don't know whether she has anything or not. But, I mean, overall, it was a brilliant season, the whole season.
It was great. So does that cover all of our first ones?
Yeah, that's what I had. Yeah.
All right, Alberto, you're up again.
All right. I'm gonna jump from the TV side, so I'm sure you guys will cover it, and maybe I'll jump in what you guys do. Talk a little bit about the books.
Okay.
For me, at least, my favorite book this year was called The Living Force by John Jackson Miller. I don't know if you guys out there know about it, but basically, Qui-Gon Jinn goes to the whole Jedi Council and gives them kind of a mission, like go out there and help one person. We're at a point, a couple of years before the Phantom Menace, like people are losing faith in the Jedi Council, and all the Masters are more concerned about the cosmic force and looking into the future and not helping the people on that day by day. So the outside world that is not in Coruscant or in the core doesn't see the Jedi as the great beings out there. So, hey, there's people that need help. Go out there and help them. And it's a book that follows all 12 Council Masters on this mission. They go to one planet to help out what's going on over there. You get to see the personality of all 12 Council members. Everyone's different. We get a bunch of Yoda. Yaddle is great. Plo Koon. If you love the Jedi Masters, they're there. Some great stuff with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan also. So that was my favorite book of the year, which is a bit surprising they didn't come from the High Republic, which has been my favorite for the past couple of years. So in terms of books, The Living Force by John Jackson Miller was a big surprise this past year, my favorite of 2024.
That's an interesting concept of like, let's think globally but act locally. Let's get our feet back on the ground and kind of remind ourselves why this matters and what we're doing matters, instead of having these loftier galactic goals. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's at a point, if you've read the High Republic, which is 150 years before all this is going down, like the Jedi are expanding to the Outer Rim, and they have all these outposts on different planets that have been left out from Republic policy, basically. So they're trying to bring everyone together. But at this point in the book, like all that has been left behind. Like everything's being concentrated in the core worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get to the Phantom Menace, we know what Tatooine and all those places don't even care about what's happening in the Republic.
I see. Okay.
So it's like one of these last Jedi outposts on this planet that the Jedi used to be very present. They're moving everything out. So it's like, before you close that outpost, go over there. Let's have a big celebration and talk to the people so you can see what the actual problem is. It's not, oh, I foresee that the cosmic force is telling me that in 20 years it's going to be this disbalance between the light and the dark. Qui-Gon is telling them, okay, that's important for us here as a term. It doesn't help the real people that we're supposed to be helping.
Mm-hmm.
So he's convincing all 12 Jedi Masters to go out there and help the people. Plus, there's a great villain in the book that's not a Sith. It's not a big mercenary. I won't spoil it, but it's a great villain inside the book. And there's a little bit of spy missions. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are great together. So it's a great book, and it brought me back a great feeling. The Jedi are my favorite thing in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So the past couple of years, there's been a lot of talk between fans and some creators, I would say, out there that put a lot of blame on the Jedi of what happened and try to, it's the Jedi fault and fuck Yoda and he's the one, it's his fault that Anakin failed. And I'm like, no, the Jedi are good. Yeah, they're not perfect,
Right.
but all in all, they're good. And this book is straight that, there's a part that I think it's Adi Gallia, one of the other masters, tells Yoda, a lie for the greater good is still a lie.
Mm.
So he's still telling you that there's something going on in the Jedi Council, that they want to cover things up, and eventually it's going to hurt them. But the whole book is showing you how good the Jedi are, because they're just out there helping people. So it gave me back that joy that I have for the Jedi, while still letting us know that they're not perfect. They're going to make mistakes, and there's a big mistake just around the corner. But they're just trying their best. So I just love that. In essence, I just fell in love with that.
Now, not to tangent too much, because I don't remember the timing of the book. Did you read this before or after The Acolyte?
Before.
Okay.
Right, because the Yoda and the lie.
Right, exactly. That's, considering you consume all these books, I think Jay and I have talked about it on our show before. We both got about halfway through the first, The Light of the Jedi book, and for some reason just didn't keep going. I think that part of it too is I haven't really been reading any Star Wars at all lately, so that's part of it. But it's a lot to bite off to go into this kind of space that we don't know a lot of people. We're not familiar with them, so you kind of really got to dive in, and that can be a little bit challenging at times. But that book sounds really interesting. I have to add that one.
I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, and that one, as long as you know like the prequel trilogy, that's all you need to know, because you'll know the characters. You don't need to have read the High Republic. Yeah, there's mentions of stuff, but nothing that really is important to what's going on in the book. I love the High Republic, but it's a lot. I agree.
Yeah.
I hate that it's going to end this year, but I'm kind of glad it is, because it's a lot to keep up with if you don't read every single thing.
Was it always intended to be like a open and closed story? Like, was it always going to end, or is it sales that kind of? I thought when they first announced it, the initiative, I thought it was like it had a beginning, middle, and end. So okay.
Yeah, it was always going to be 3 phases. What we didn't know was that phase 2 was going to jump to the past, and then phase 3 will pick up where phase 1 ended. But it was always, as far as I remember, always sold as a beginning, middle, end.
Yeah. And with this last book this year, how many books total is in that whole series? Do you know, roughly?
I'm counting.
Looking at the bookshelf.
I'm counting like 15 behind me, and that's not counting the ones that I have on digital and audio.
Okay.
So because they're adult books, young adult, middle grade, audio dramas, and then there's a bunch of comic books.
Okay.
Adult novels, I would say there's about 6, and then probably 6 more young adults and 6 middle grade.
Okay.
And I believe 2 audio dramas, maybe 3, and then a bunch of comic books. I don't read the comic books, all of them, because it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Jay, what's your next one?
I got Grievous and his Witches of Salem just goes in there and just starts slaughtering everybody, man. We can't forget that. He shows up and he just like, don't forget me.
You're talking about Tales of the Empire.
Yeah.
Why am I forgetting
Was
her
it
name?
It was the first part.
What's her name?
Oh God.
Elsbeth?
Yeah. Now. Yes.
Morgan Elsbeth.
Morgan
Yep.
Elsbeth. There you go.
Yeah.
Her
So
origin.
she's younger, and we see like her. Well, she calls her mother. And she's basically killed, and then Grievous is like, kill them all. So yeah, that was just an intense scene. It's sort of we saw some of that in the Clone Wars, but this is from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do really like the shorter stories that they do with the Tales of stuff, and I hope they continue to do them.
Yeah.
But there are sometimes you're like, I would like a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite characters. He's such an interesting, just to listen to and watch, and he doesn't have a conscience, so he just goes in there just murdering people.
He's got that emphysema.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of stuff. He's a little long hair, shriveled heart.
Yeah,
Let's go. Some cool eyes. That close up in Revenge of the Sith, still one of the best shots ever.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Well, my next one is the release of Outlaws, Star Wars Outlaws. I think I did somewhat of a full review on this show some months ago, and I have since Jay finished the whole game.
Okay.
Did the DLC content with Lando in the Sabacc tournament, which is fun as well. There's a one coming out with Hondo, I think, in like the next month or two.
Yeah, like March, I think it's supposed to come out. But they haven't announced whether they're doing any more, right?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So looking forward to that as well. I think the only thing I didn't do was you can go to the Lars family plot or the farm, the moisture farm, and I didn't go. There's not a mission that sends you there. It's just kind of this little one-off little Easter egg. And people will tell you how to get there, and I never did do that, so I do need to go back and do that. Have you played this game at all, Alberto?
No, but are you saying that you're bad at asking for directions? Just throwing all the mail down the...
Oh, no. I'm like this with video games anymore, just because given time and, being a parent and all that stuff. Anytime I get stuck on something, I'm like, let's see here. Will this person watch his video? Okay, that's how you do it. Okay. I just need a little kickstart in the right direction because I'm not going to spend 3 hours trying to figure this out.
Right.
Yeah. No, so I haven't played Outlaws. I really want to. My better gaming days are behind me, unfortunately. Yeah. My son has taken over the Xbox, so it's difficult to get him out of Fortnite or Madden.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever they go on the Game Pass, I'll try to play a little bit. I finally started playing Jedi Order, like the first Jedi Order game. So I'm behind. I'm a little behind.
Do you like the first Jedi Order game?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Same thing. I left it, and then if I go back, I forget all the buttons, so I haven't played it in a while.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of muscle memory that helps after a while. Yeah, I think there's something about the Outlaws game that I liked more. I like Jedi Order. The second one, Survivor, I didn't like quite as much as the first one.
Okay.
Just for whatever reason. Maybe it was the story was just a little not as strong as the first one or something like that. They are going to make a third one.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's the open world format of Outlaws that I like. The fact that you see, some familiar characters, but you just get to navigate through all these syndicates, which is really cool because it's not something you've really been able to do before. Yeah. And so to be able to do that, some of the locations are amazing. Like you get to go to Kijimi, although the Kijimi map's a little small, but that's okay. But then, and of course they have Tatooine. So you're in the cantina. You literally see the blast shot on the wall where Han sat, with Greedo and all that stuff. There's just a lot of really cool stuff. So as somebody who, especially a fan going back to that era, the original trilogy era, it's a great time to set a game. And I just enjoyed it thoroughly. I would probably say I tend to like campaign style games more so than online games. And so for me, it's right there. I like Battlefront 2's campaign was really good, but between those two, those are probably my two favorite of the Star Wars games I played. So just absolutely loved it.
Yeah. If I play it, I'm going to help the Pikes because everything I saw is people hating on the Pikes. I think they deserve a little bit of love. So I'll be the first one to say, hey, Pikes, hire me.
Why do they deserve a little bit of love? What's your reason for that?
I don't know. They just feel they get thrown
they get
under
a bad
the
rap.
bus.
Yeah.
Okay, they suck. I'm sorry. I won't help the Pikes. I was trying to convince them to hire me and then betray them. Come on, Jason. You messed it all up.
Well, the funny thing is, by the end of the game, you have a reputation level with all of them, and sometimes doing something for one will screw it up with the other. By the end of it, I had excellent reputation with all of them. You can work your way, so that you end up getting in the good graces of all of them. It just takes time. Early on, it's like the Pikes hate you and Crimson Dawn's cool with you, and then you got to navigate that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna play it. I just have to buy it and find the time to play.
It's worth it, and I spent a lot of hours, and unfortunately, when you do saves, it tells you how many hours you've spent, and that's very depressing.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, don't do that. Don't tell me how long I've been doing this.
I don't need to know.
I don't need to know that. Anyway, all right, Alberto, what do you got next?
I'll go with your shirt and Skeleton Crew.
Mm-hmm.
That's a show. It got delayed for 1 year, supposed to come out the year prior.
Right.
We really didn't know too much about it, so I went very open-minded, even before we got the trailers or anything. It's not that I didn't expect the show to be good. Goonies in space, come on, that's a great premise.
It is a great idea.
But then watching the show and seeing that, yes, Goonies in space, plus it's also a pirate show, and Jude Law's kicking ass with this character. Is he good? Is he bad? Do you trust him? Who cares? Because he's eating every scene. All the kids are great. The effects are awesome. The music, the story, all the creature designs I loved. I love Glurb, the Quarren that got shut down. Poor Glurb. Brutus, Captain Brutus. It's a freaking werewolf, right? But it makes sense in Star Wars going toe-to-toe with Jude Law, with this British top-tier actor.
Yeah.
But the show had a lot of heart. And every single character made sense. There wasn't one character that you would say, oh, that kid is out of place, so I don't mesh well with this guy or the other.
Right.
So Skeleton Crew was a big surprise. Coming after The Acolyte, which I thoroughly enjoyed The Acolyte. I had some issues with the finale, and I'm sad that it got canceled or didn't get renewed. But the bad vibe that a lot of Star Wars fans had with Lucasfilm and with what was coming next, in terms of how they view the cancellation of that show, and a lot of people saying, hey, I'm done with Star Wars. I'm not going to invest my time in Skeleton Crew. They're just going to cancel it, blah, blah, blah. I didn't let that affect me. And I understand why some people felt hurt by the Acolyte cancellation. I won't take that away from them. But Skeleton Crew, from that first episode, each episode just kept building and building. So it was a nice surprise at how great this show was and how it kind of turned the tide a little bit online for fans discussing Star Wars again. And I know the world is going to hell at the moment, and we don't need to get into that. But to at least have those couple of minutes throughout the week to just talk Star Wars without all the outside stuff affecting us, was a refreshing time. And the show was great. And a great design just by your shirt. It's like, come on, who doesn't want a pirate droid hanging out with you with a little rat coming out of one eye?
Yeah, I always thought of it as kind of a palate cleanser for some people who, whether you had issues with the Acolyte or not, like you said, just the reaction and the backlash and all the fandom was, I mean, not that it's ever perfect, but it was particularly terrible during and in the short, time after Acolyte. So to be able to come in with a show that I think kind of got everybody back to their Star Wars roots a little bit, kind of took you back to the beginning of when you first started watching it. And like you said, mixing it with that Amblin theme that's also very nostalgic, I think was just a great recipe. Going in, I felt like you was like, I don't know, we'll see. I love Jude Law. I like the concept, but is this really going to deliver and be a good show? And man, it ended up being great. And even from the first episode where you're like, they're putting us in Star Wars suburbia. This is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's weird, yeah.
But it immediately just whooshes you into this not standard, but like, familiar Star Wars adventure style story, which I just thought was so great.
Yeah. Star Wars suburbia, the funniest thing to me is the Thorian walking the dog. And then you go to the data bank, and it's called like a frog dog. It's like, okay, I can come up with that name. But the show was great because then you end that first episode with them just blasting off into hyperspace. Okay, we're in Star Wars. And of course, it's going to be Star Wars suburbia at some point. People complain that everything is a desert planet. Everything is a nice planet. Well, here you go.
Well, I think it works for the story because it puts you, like, it did a really good job at, like, creating that nostalgic for, like, the older viewer. Like, not only is it kids, but, like, you can, all those things relate to, like, those old Amblin films in different ways. So even seeing Suburbia is weird in Star Wars, but, like, you grew up being that kid in Suburbia who went on those adventures. So it was really recognizable in a way, even though it wasn't for Star Wars, per se.
Yeah, it had a lot of heart, and I thought it was so brilliantly acted by everyone that it really delivered,
Yeah.
I just hope we get a season 2.
Yep.
All right, Jay, what's your next one?
My next one for the 2024 is that they canceled The Acolyte.
Oh, you're just saying
We're
it's the
going
biggest moment, or you enjoyed that they did?
No, I was being an asshole because I was like, well, I'm not going to get in there. Like,
Right back
I have
at
to
ya.
tell you, like, if you look back at, because we had issues with the Acolyte as well too, but I love the Skeleton Crew, and that was actually on my list. But the Acolyte was brought up, and looking back, like, in talking about Jedi's being your favorite and everything, there's some awesome shit in that show, and I really hope people start going back. And I mean, a little too late now to get any more of it, probably, but like, the fights, some of the character stuff, some of the lore they pulled out of books or anything else, like, they did a really fucking cool job. It's just they didn't execute it perfectly. And I think watchers need to start to be okay with that. Not everything's going to be perfect. Where this one was a palate cleanser, and they did a really good job. But I don't know, it wasn't a safe bet, but it kind of comes off that way now. Like watching the Skeleton Crew, like, it didn't take a lot of leaps with the lore. It just kind of did its own story.
Right. But I do think that if those kids weren't as good as they were, it would have been crapped on.
Yeah,
I think
right.
because you can certainly have kids who are, I don't want to say they're bad actors because they're children, but if kids can't deliver on that story and it just seems too, I don't know, whatever, contrived, it won't land. And those kids, I think, really are what made the show as good as it was, you know?
Yeah. Going back to the Acolyte, so real quick, same thing. I thoroughly enjoyed the Acolyte, and we don't need to get into all the hate that it was getting before it even started. But I think one of the problems that a lot of people might have with it, the expectations going into it from what the creators had said was, this is going to show you how the dark side has been hiding for so many years and how the Jedi became what we see in the Phantom Menace. And that really wasn't the show. The show was about these twins that get kind of in the middle of this investigation that involves the Jedi. And here's this dark side. So it wasn't really a show about the dark side in general and the Sith hiding or the Acolytes or the Beyond or anything. It was a character story. So a lot of people, including myself, that were expected the show to be something else. It wasn't. So I'm sure that threw people a little bit kind of out the way or to the side. But the show itself, when you just watch the show for what it was, it did deliver a bunch of great things. Acting was great. I know some people didn't like the story they told or the writing. I didn't have a problem with it. Action scenes were awesome. And the lore behind it, like you mentioned, Jason, I had been rereading or re-listening to the Plagueis novel as the show was going on. And if you want to start connecting dots, even before Plagueis showed up, I was, well, this happened. All this has connection to the Plagueis novel, which is what people have been asking for years and years.
Right.
But they already made up their mind that, no, it's not what I want. And the end, they had some things I didn't agree about in terms of how some characters reacted to the action that was going. I kind of talked to some people on my show when we had Maggie Lovett from Collider joining us. She's great.
Yeah.
And I saw it from her point of view. And, well, this character acted this way because these have been their experiences. Okay, it makes sense in that way. So I can reconcile it a little bit. So I'm bummed that it got canceled. I really wanted to see a second season and see where it went.
Right.
But I understand why some people, again, taking away any racism and bigotry out there, not all the criticism that the show got was based on that. I think there is some real criticism that people could put out there. But Star Wars fandom at that point was just boiling up, that everything was seen as a personal attack to someone. So it was very difficult to discuss the show 4 or 5 months ago when it came out over the summer. And that's, like you said, this palate cleanser, then Skeleton Crew coming afterwards, kind of not really connected to anything and brings you back to your childhood, kind of just wash off all that hate that a lot of people out there had and work back to a good standing, it seems.
Yeah, it's a great point you make about the creators setting the expectation and setting up a story to be a certain way and it not delivering that way. I think that's a totally fair point. And you mentioned talking to Maggie Lovett. Didn't she have like a regular weekly interview with Leslie Headland? So she was obviously consuming a lot of the process and everything that went into that show. So I think she's going to tend to lean into it more because of the fact that she's been told all this stuff, firsthand.
Those articles and Leslie Headland's answers for everything, like, I think it was I think it hurt the show, and I think it helped in different ways, because like it was almost like they were putting her out there every week to kind of protect all the angry, like to protect it from the angry people, which was kind of enraging them more. But like if you go back, like that's the thing, is like you really know that she knows her Star Wars stuff.
Yeah,
she had an answer for everything. She had a reason, and whether you agree with it or not, look, there's a bunch of us that didn't agree with George Lucas, what he did with some of the prequels, and that's the guy who created the damn thing, and now everyone's protecting him. But like you go back 20 years, and they wanted him to burn.
Oh yeah,
you know. So like the story structure thing I think was the big thing that didn't work for me. But the more and more I think about that, it was really it was a cool show. It was fun and it was different. And I think that the premise that you talked about, it was not the premise they gave us, but I think that was what we were moving toward.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that in the first season.
Right, season 2 was setting it up for a season 2.
Yeah,
she certainly had an arc for season 2. Or maybe even 3. I think she talked about
and I mean 3. They had the fucking villain. They nailed that villain, and that's what the next season should have been. Like that's the dark side, like all of that shit. Like the fucking Jedis were wiped out. There was nothing really to worry about except for Baldy and her whip walking around. So
she was trying to hide everything.
Yeah. So
leave Vernestra alone, okay? That's my girl from the books. I love her in the books.
Okay.
I hear she's a great character. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is the other thing. A lot of people said that the translation of that character from book to screen was a little tough. And I mean the I guess the argument to support it was, well, it's been years.
100 years. So
yeah,
you can change.
Hardened.
You can change a little bit in 100 years.
So her perspective could have changed. But yeah, you mentioned Chimera. I think he was maybe the best part of that show. I loved him as a villain. I liked his character, and just his nature before he turned into the baddie.
Right.
And just how kind of how clueless he acted and all those kinds of things were really, really, it's a really good way to set him up. But him, I had kind of the moment as him floating in behind her like a horror show. Yeah. And then the sequence that
you're getting to my number one. You're getting to my number one.
Oh, sorry. I'll leave that for now. We'll cover that. We'll cover that next.
Yeah.
Is it me? I think it's me. I think I just have one more because we're kind of touching on some similar things. I was just going to say it was nice to go to the theaters and see a Star Wars movie again, even if it was Phantom Menace. It was great to be back in the theater with popcorn in my hand, watching a Star Wars film. And it's sometimes when you go back and see those, because going through the prequels the first time, I certainly had a lot of gripes coming off my fandom being based in the original trilogy. And over time, I grew to appreciate those movies more and more. So to go and see the first one now was great. The pod racing in a live theater was so much more fun to watch. And of course, getting the Duel of the Fates music blaring in your ears while you're watching that lightsaber battle. I just thought it was great to see that. I'm looking forward to them re-releasing anniversary, type releases in the future.
Hell yeah.
Alberto, got anything else?
Sure, why not? Let's do one more. We already talked about the Acolyte. I'll throw another book out there just to keep with my book themes. Temptation of the Force, High Republic. For people that do follow the High Republic, this was a very important book. Two of the main characters, Avar Kriss and Elsar Mann, which was the will they, won't they, since 2 years ago. Finally, sorry, I'm going to spoil it, finally got together.
Oh.
But in a way that makes sense. It's not breaking canon. Oh no, Jedi can't be together, blah, blah, blah.
Give me the dirty details.
The building sexual tension was you haven't seen that since like Sam and
Diane.
Sam and Diane.
Cheers.
There you go. or maybe Moonlighting. It was a real big buildup of tension.
Yeah.
Was it a quick release when the robes came off, or could he do his business?
No, he was fine. There was no problems there. But the thing is, again, there's so much in the High Republic. So this is coming after 2.5 years of stories and what those two characters had gone through, and having lost Stella and Geos, which was their third of the big three of the era, having lost them. Then those two finally kind of falling into their feelings. But at the same time, having that conversation about attachments and what does it mean to fall in love or have feelings for someone, or create the attachment that George Lucas mentioned is what's forbidden in the Jedi. But if love is everywhere and the Force is everywhere, then how can they be opposed? There's a lot of great stuff in there for people that want Jedi to be more than these stoic monks. plus the main story of dealing with Markin Rowe, this big villain, and the Nameless, which are the creatures that suck the Force out of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Right.
How are they going to come back those big creatures out there? Finally having an answer for that, or part of an answer. It's okay, finally we're driving into the end of this series. So getting that book was great. Plus on my end, just as a selfish person, it's being able to interview the author. Tessa Gratton was one of the authors we had, and get into where her mind was writing the book and writing those scenes. Personally, was a great moment for me and our show in 2024.
Great.
Again, thanks to Star Wars Done Ray for sending their books, and I'll keep doing my reviews. I'll be as good as I can, and if I can get in authors to interview, I'll give everyone a 5-star rating.
That's cool.
How far in advance do you get those? When typically do they give it like a month, a couple months, few
It
months?
depends. Usually it's about a month and a half.
Okay.
There's a book coming out actually a month from now in February 22nd, I believe, called Reign of the
Empire.
So I got that one like a month and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
I hope there's some steamy scenes in that one.
Jay is a big Mon fan. So.
I mean, there's my Mothma. Perrin is there. I won't spoil anything more.
That fucker better not touch her. I'll break every fucking finger.
I mean, there's no embargo for this book, so I can spoil everything right now, but I won't tell you.
I think what I've been really looking forward to that book. I think we're going to actually do, maybe give away some copies as our giveaway for our Andor season 2. So we're looking forward to that.
I've already paid for it. I'm just waiting for it to arrive.
Okay. Jay, you got one more?
Speaking of film, I'm just excited they actually filmed a Star Wars movie this year. So we've got the Mandalorian and Grogu that supposedly it was filmed. So we just have to wait, 2 long freaking years to see it. But
well, now it's down. We're less.
It's a year and a half.
Well, yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah,
so we're getting close.
Yeah.
Supposed to be 5 months from now, and then they just pushed it for whatever.
Right. Oh God, if they do that. Yeah, because what Rise of Skywalker was end of 2019, right?
Yeah.
So man, it has been a minute. I mean, it's almost like it's inching closer to those bigger gaps that we saw in Star Wars movies, before. It's starting to get toward that, which is
at least there's content outside of the movies to keep us happy.
Yeah.
Which is funny because at some point after Rise of Skywalker, and even still people say, "Oh, Star Wars need time to breathe and then make it a big event." But now that we've waited like 7 years, we're like, give me more Star Wars. It's like, do we on a wait or we just want it now? I want it now.
Well, right, because I've enjoyed thoroughly the small screen stuff. But man, there's just something about seeing those big shows in the theater that just makes a difference. So, okay, I think I'm out of items. If you guys have more, we can go. But I think
I've got the final one is just Khmer executes Order 187.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's people that complain about that fight, like it was too dark or it was whatever. Like the choreography was amazing, and even when he beheads the 2 Jedis, the way the camera moves so the tree gets in the way just as their heads fall, so you know what happens, but you don't see it. It's a TV show. What are you bitching about? But when he gives the pokey stick and makes Swiss cheese out of Jackie, man, and that's where the reveal is. That's when you get bam, 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 and then the body drops slowly, and you see him, and he's like that whole fight, that reveal, the way they did it, I put it up with the top 5 lightsaber battle. Ultimate villain, I think. Like I think he's a better villain than Kylo Ren. Oh,
okay. I can see where you say that. I think there's just something about, like you said, those fight sequences. You're a big behind the scenes guy, Jay.
Yeah.
I kind of go back and forth sometimes on behind the scenes. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to know exactly how it was made just to take some of the magic out of it. In this case, seeing the training that Manny Jacinto was going through, and you realize how that was all him. It was not They weren't putting somebody in a suit to fill out, and he was just the pretty face. It was him doing these scenes, and just incredibly well choreographed.
And he brought the guns, man.
Oh, the guns, yeah, gunshot.
Mm-hmm. Great villain, really.
He was, yeah. Did you have any others, Alberto? You want to?
No,
you good?
We're good.
Okay. Well, the other part of this is that we were going to talk about kind of looking forward to 2025 and making maybe some predictions as to what we might see. This can kind of be whatever you want it to be. It could be hilariously goofy, or it could be serious things you think are gonna happen. So it's kind of up to you. I've got a short list here as well. So Alberto, we'll start with you again. Do you have your first prediction for 2025 Star Wars?
Oh wow! So I go to Star Wars Celebration knowing that's around the corner in a couple of months. So I'm waiting for a lot of announcements. Mainly, what's the future of Star Wars live action television?
Yeah.
We know that Ahsoka season 2 is coming. We know that Andor season 2 is coming. But after that, we have no idea. Like, nothing has been announced. Andor we've known for years. Ahsoka we've known for years. So streaming is going through a change, I think. The landscape of streaming is changing. What happened with the Acolyte? We don't know if Skeleton Crew is going to get a second season. So it's one thing to know what's the future of Star Wars live action on the TV side, what that is going to look like. I think it's going to be different from what we're used to. It won't be like 2 shows a year. Maybe we'll get more animated shows. Prediction. My big prediction, I've been saying this for months, we're going to get an update.
Palpatine returns.
Oh, no. He never left. No. I think they're going to bring out John Boyega to say that Finn is coming back for the movie. I think that's going to be a big reveal in Celebration. I've been on this path for months now. They just got a new writer for the movie. Just got announced about 2 hours ago before we started recording.
Yeah.
So my big prediction is that John Boyega is returning as Finn, and we'll get that Jedi Finn that everyone wanted in Rise of Skywalker. I think, and I really hope that we get it now with this Rey movie, and hopefully Celebrations when we get the announcement. And I hope some scooper out there doesn't break this 2 days before Celebration. If you have it, just keep it with you.
Right.
And let everyone be
moment.
surprised. Yeah, dudes.
Right. That's a good one. I like that. I would love to see him back. Jay, what's your first prediction?
Are we just the first one? Well,
yeah.
Okay, this prediction, it was a bounce in between, but I just wanted to say, because Skeleton Crew to me was more this year than last year, so Neil's awesome. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not sure if that counts as a prediction, but we'll take it.
It's a great character. I didn't know it was just predictions, but
well, no, you can do whatever you want. It's our show, Jay.
I'll give you a prediction: is Sean Levy's flick is actually going to happen.
There you go. It'll follow through.
Yes.
Gosling and all.
Mm-hmm.
Gosling? You think that's going to stick?
Yeah, I do. I know there's been rumors for a while, and I just assumed that it was either Reynolds or Hugh Jackman. I assumed was probably going to do it, but I mean, he's always going for franchise stuff now. The only thing is my struggle, and we'll probably talk about it more in the news, but he's been doing a lot of the funny stuff. You know, to me, I've always struggled with him as an actor where everyone's loved him, and he's a great serious actor, but I think he found his groove when he did The Nice Guys, and then I thought he was great in Barbie. You know, like I thought there were some problems, and I think the Fall Guy ran a little too long, but he's great in that too. Like, he's fun to watch. Like, he's really good with comedic timing. So I don't know how he's going to fit into the Star Wars now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But overall,
I think he's got the
able to pull that off. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for my first one, I'll say there's going to be not only a new animated series announced, but it will actually drop in the fall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, I had to just close my eyes and point to a character, and I'm going to say it's about Ventress. I'm going to say, much like Jay said, why do you bring Ventress back if you don't have plans for her in the longer term? I don't know that they're going to do something with her in live action, so this would be a good opportunity to bring her back and do more with her story. She's
going to be Omega's master.
Well, you can either do that. That's the thing I wasn't sure about, is what's the timeline? Is it going to be going forward from the Bad Batch, or is it going to be that Dark Disciple deal with what's his name?
Start off with that.
Quinlan
Voss?
Quinlan Voss. Thank you. Yes. I that book I enjoyed so much. I think it would be a great opportunity to turn that to screen, or to animation, and do something with it. Especially with the hops that Quinlan's got, you got to do that in animation. You can't do that in live action.
Well, even if they did like flashbacks, like that's as they're progressing this new story forward, if they flash back and show some of those moments that changed her.
That could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see that. Yeah, so I'm as much as I've always been really leaning into live action more than animation, I don't know if it's because, I always loved Rebels. I liked Clone Wars, at least later on. The early parts were a little tougher for me.
Yeah, it was.
But man, Bad Batch really just drove it home. It just
right.
you can see the stuff that they can accomplish in Star Wars with animation. It's like, give me more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Adventurous TV's animated series makes 100% sense. Especially you bring her back, it makes sense just to do something more. Introducing the path in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, knowing that Quinlan Vos was involved with getting Jedi out of harm's way. You bring that and put Ventress in it, just makes complete sense. It will be a hit. Everyone would love that show. And keep it animated. Ventress is a very difficult character appearance-wise to bring to live action and make it make sense. And that those type of shows, and with Quinlan, like you were saying, his abilities, do it animation. Star Wars thrives in animation. And going back to what I said before, the state of Star Wars live action is kind of up in the air. Keep it animation. You're gonna have fans for years, and do this continually, not be a one-off. Not be, because we're getting Vision season 3. I think we'll get another Tales of miniseries, but give us a long-running 3, 4, 5 seasons animated show, and be this Ventress show, and it can be the path going all the way to Omega. I don't think Omega's force sensitive in the sense that she needs to be trained as a Jedi, but maybe she's already been introduced with Ventress, so you can bring her in for a couple of episodes. Again, depends, like you said, Matt, the time period for this. But Star Wars, we're at a point that we're connecting so many stuff. You can do all those 2 shows kind of together, and it makes sense for the fans out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it seems like it would be an obvious win, and right now we need to stack wins. Here.
Sure.
We need to start having a bunch of wins in a row here, and so that we don't just, you know. My biggest concern is not people in the fandom being annoyed. It's the powers that be going, maybe we should make less, like they've been doing, you know, lately. So that's always my concern when there's a bad series. Did you have any other predictions, Alberto? You want to keep going?
Andor season 2 will be considered the best Star Wars series of all time, and I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
And again, Andor season 1 is not my favorite. I concede that it's the best Star Wars television series. It's not my favorite. Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is not the best series, is my favorite because it's my favorite character. And that last scenes with Vader are just perfect, and the scenes with Leia. But Andor season 1, I understand, is the best Star Wars series out there. And with all the hype that it's been getting, in terms that we're going to see Rogue One in a different light after Andor season 2, seeing how it connects, seeing how Andor met K2SO, which is going to be a little bit different from the comics, and when he gets to that point to be that rebel leader or that rebel spy, I'm pretty sure we know that Mendelssohn is back. Can we see Gene Erso maybe? There's so much that's going to take place in Andor season 2 that I'm just extremely excited for it. And hopefully it'll meet the same standards as season 1.
Well, and it makes sense once you said season 1 wasn't necessarily your favorite. It makes sense in that you said your favorite thing about Star Wars is Jedi, and this is really not focusing on Jedi.
Right.
It's more
which
just
was
in that
my big worry when we went into this. You were super excited about it, and I was like, I want more Jedi. But as far as writing and direction goes, I mean, it's top tier.
I mean, when we talked about that show on my shows, every week we're like, how can this keep getting better and better? Like every week it just kept stacking and stacking. Again, it's not my favorite, but there's nothing I can complain about that show. It's perfection in terms of writing, acting, delivery, emotions. It was great.
Yeah, I think the cinematic approach to filming it, coupled with the incredible writing, just was a massive hit. You also had, of course, great actors, great stars, and all that great characters.
Mon Mothma.
You put the writing together with the way they shot it, and it made sense that it delivered. Yeah, I can't wait for season 2. I'm trying to think if I read this or dreamt this or somebody's theory, but are they going to do a thing where they show the finale in the theaters and then you roll right into Rogue One? Are they going to do that? Because if they haven't mentioned that, they absolutely should.
I haven't heard it.
Lucasfilm, you heard it.
Yeah. Another great idea by us. Why aren't we in the writer's room?
Do the finale and just roll right into it. I just think that makes a ton of sense. All right. You heard it here first, maybe. Or maybe 5th, 10th. I don't know.
I like that idea. Hey, real quick before we move on, is Luthen a Jedi?
He has that kyber crystal, that crystal on his neck. I'm going to say no. I don't think we need to bring that into this show. It seemed out of place. He hasn't shown any Jedi tendencies. I'm gonna say no.
I agree. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be a Jedi, but Jay, you've been thinking that for a while now.
Yeah.
You still do.
Since the speech. That and when the guy, what's his name? He takes his cane and he tells him something about
Gandalf?
You're going to hurt yourself with that.
Gandalf.
Yeah. Walking staff?
When he goes to visit Saw and he comes into the entrance and the guy takes his cane stick.
Oh,
whatever,
right. You were thinking he had a saber in there?
Does he make a comment about it'll hurt him or something?
I forgot about that. Yeah, when he goes, I totally forgot that they take that from him. Yeah. So that was your secret. He had a saber in there.
I think there's layers. I think there's things that there's seeds planted where you can't be like, well, you don't make any sense. Why do you see it? I think
I'll be okay if he's a Jedi. Like, it's revealed that he's a Jedi. It's not like he starts using the Force or stuff.
Sure, right.
It's like something gets told or there's a way that we find out that he's a Jedi, but not that he starts using the Force and gets a lightsaber and cuts someone's head off or something.
Right. Okay. If all of a sudden he starts doing Revenge of the Sith Yoda moves, I'm going to no, you ruined it. You ruined it. Just to piggyback on that, because one of my predictions is a silly one, and this is really mostly for Jay, is that Mon Mothma's husband Perrin is going to die a horrible death in season 2. He's going to end up double crossing her in some way, and he's going to get his from somebody. I have a feeling.
I'm so excited for that episode.
They're going to be questioning her she's going to really have to feign sadness over his death. But what's going to happen is if and when he dies, is it Leda, her daughter, Leda?
Yes.
She is going to blame her mom. It's going to be all her mom's fault. They're never going to reconcile.
I hope it's at her mom's. I hope Mon Mothma kills him.
At the wedding.
At her hand. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She shows up to walk her down the aisle. She's like, where's Dad? We'll talk about that after.
It's going to be one of those bad Schwarzenegger lines or something. Or in The Untouchables. Where's Dad? He's in the car. And they're going to show him. He's going to be dead. And oh, God. I think it was you next, Jay.
I was going to just because the trend is, this keeps getting pushed back because I think the Rey movie that did get a new writer, I don't know. My prediction is we won't see it start filming this year.
Okay. Yeah, I would kind of be surprised if it did at this point.
I don't think this new writer is doing a page one rewrite. I think he came in. It looks like he's just the guy that's going to take all the pieces and put it together and probably do a polish, I think. Because if it's a page one rewrite, then it's not filming at all.
Right. Well, but maybe you're just getting your ducks in a row this year so that it goes into production in 26, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a 28 release.
There is no way that the Rey movie doesn't happen.
Oh, it's going to happen.
It makes 100% sense that this movie goes into production this year and releases in 2027 to celebrate the 50 years of Star Wars. If they don't release a movie to celebrate the 50 years of Star Wars, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, I think that could be the Levy film.
Right.
Maybe. And rumors are that Rey's going to have part to do in that movie. But I think from what we've heard in interviews or whatever, and take it with salt, is that Rey Skywalker is the future of Star Wars. That she's going to be in multiple movies. It makes sense that the big 50-year anniversary movie is the Rey movie. It's not a movie that doesn't really connect to everything else that's going on.
I see what you're saying.
Just my point of view, but it makes also a lot of sense. Sean Levi, with the great success of Deadpool and Wolverine, that his movie gets fast track. He just gave them $1 billion. Whatever you want to do it, because we need a win, like you said. And if you have a story and it's ready to go, let's push it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the Rey Skywalker movie being announced in Celebration, you bring Daisy Ridley on stage, and then you don't deliver on that movie at some point, then that's when I would say, okay, Kathleen Kennedy, maybe it's time to go.
I definitely think it's going to happen.
Because you make that big, huge announcement 2 years ago, and we're still debating, is it going to happen? We just got the fourth writer. That's why, again, Celebration is going to be very important to get some actual updates on those 3 movies that were announced, especially the Rey.
Right. Oh, and I didn't get to with the Ryan Gosling thing. You said Jedi, and I went with it, but he would play a really good Han Solo scoundrel type person.
Of course, yeah.
So we're all thinking Jedi, but I mean that could just be the first out of the 3 main new characters in his movie, let's just say, right? They're going after him. So I could really see Gosling pulling that off more than Jedi.
Yeah, well, and we talked about this in a show, I don't know, a couple months ago now, maybe. But Alberto, is there any concern you have with, if they're saying that Rey is the future of Star Wars, is there any concern you have with spreading her too thin and saying she's got to be a part of all these different movies versus, okay, she might have some sort of small role here, but really there's going to be this main trilogy that really focuses on her?
It's difficult to say because right now we're just speculating. There's so many rumors out there. It's difficult to start to piece everything together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's like a Rey trilogy, like episode 10, 11, and 12, let's say, plus the Sean Levi movie and Rey's there. Yeah, you can say she can be stretched a little bit thin. So I don't know. I love the character. I think she's really a great ambassador for Star Wars. And she's been asked in every interview she did last year about Star Wars, and she didn't, I can talk about it. She's like, yeah, I'm ready to get the script. I've heard things. It's going to be announced soon. So I think she's ready to go. And I don't mind seeing more Rey. And if she pops in as a minor character in a movie here or there, and she has, say, a couple of scenes, 10, 15 minutes, I'm okay with it, as long as it makes sense with the story that they're telling. If it's, I don't know, they just stop on a planet, oh, look, Rey's there, and then they fly off, then, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But it depends. Again, I'll keep repeating myself. Celebration is going to be very important, not just for live action Star Wars, but for what's going to happen in the theaters in the future, to hopefully get a clearer view on all these rumors and all these supposed movies that are going to be out there. They don't need to give us everything, but at least have an idea of where the future of Star Wars is going to go.
Yeah.
And if we don't hear something, I don't say concrete because I'm okay with things changing, but at least an idea of a plan. Sorry, that sounds like something that politicians said recently. But we need to know what's going out there to be able to brush away all the bad rumors out there. So
yeah. Not to get into like recency bias, but it certainly seems like this is one of the more anticipated and whatever you want to call it. This celebration, I think a lot of people are going to be on pins and needles waiting to see what comes out, what doesn't. And I think what doesn't come out is going to tell a lot of stories, as far as what we think might happen. But obviously any announcements they make, and like you said, anything with at least some semblance of a plan about when it's going to come out or that it's going into production at a certain time or whatever will be huge. So going into these types of shows, D23, all these kinds of things, you're always like, well, we'll get these little tidbits here and there. But it seems like this year is building up with the layoff we've had since the last celebration, that there's going to be a lot of news coming out of this one. Yeah. Hopefully.
If we don't hear any, let's say they don't mention the Rey movie and they don't mention the James Mangold movie, then I'm worried. Yeah. And I say, okay, there's something going on. Even if it's, hey, we're still working or we're ready to go into production. Okay, I want it more, but I'll take it. But if they're hush, then I'll say, okay, there's a problem. That's when I'll accept it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't remember whose turn it is, but I'll just say this real quick. Kathleen Kennedy will not announce stepping down this year. As much as everybody keeps waiting for it, I think she wants to get through Mando Grogu film before she considers stepping away. So I don't think there's any plans for her to do anything this year, unless they're going to announce some succession plan or something, which I don't know that they would do that. So I think she just status quo the whole way, and people are going to gripe and yell and complain about her, but we're not going to get anything on her until 2026, I don't think. Bold.
Agreed.
What did you have next, Jay?
That I've got pretty much
everything.
It all.
You got other ones, Alberto?
Yeah.
Path of Fear, Reign of the Empire Book 1, especially for you guys, big fans of Andor and of Rogue One. Really get this book. I'm already saying this is going to be on the top of a lot of people best book of list by the end of the year. What Alexander Freed did was amazing. From page 1 all the way to, it's like 74 chapters. It's a very long book, but dude, if you love all the Mon Mothma type scenes and all the Lutheran scenes in Andor, that's basically most of the book. That's that type of story.
Yeah.
So get it. People out there that might be a little bit hesitant, no, it's a full-on story, a bunch of Saw Gerrera, a bunch of Mon Mothma with Perrin. Bail Organa's there with a lot to do. His confliction about what happened to the Jedi. It's an awesome book. So for people out there that might be on the fence, just grab it. You won't be disappointed.
Okay.
Well, this is going to be a prediction, but you could actually answer this, so whether it's fact or not. But I heard that there's a Mon Mothma centerfold in that.
I can neither deny or confirm.
Oh, shit.
You have to buy the special, where's a Gold Boros edition to get that.
There you go. Yeah, it's only in 10 of the books that are sent out. So you got to be one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go for millions on eBay.
Oh, boy.
Let's see. Oh, I was going to ask you guys, Skeleton Crew Season 2 get announced or anything about it happen this year?
I think so.
What do you think, Alberto?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. It's Skeleton Crew. I don't care about ratings. In terms of where streaming says it's the most watched or how many hours, you can just make up numbers. But the good vibes that show has brought to everyone, I think it's a no-brainer. The creators already said they have an idea for where season 2 would go. And come on, everyone loves Jude Law and want to see more of Jude Law in Star Wars. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Will it come out soon? I don't know. Maybe after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie and maybe the Dave Filoni movie. There were rumors that characters from Skeleton Crew were going to show up in one of those 2 movies. I think it makes sense for it to be Jude Law with John Nanawood to show up in the big screen. So I think it just makes sense for Star Wars to hopefully announce a season 2 of Skeleton Crew.
Got to do it. Jay, did you have you were done? Alberto, you have any other ones?
Yeah, I was done.
I have one more.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Stop bragging.
Oh, it's just one more. It's silly.
Oh, okay.
There will be a Tales of. It's going to be Tales of the Scoundrels.
All right.
Okay.
And it's going to be half Lando, half Han. Lando's going to be voiced by Donald Glover. I'm not sure about the timeline on that one. I don't know if it's going to make sense to do it more toward like during the original trilogy Galactic Civil War time frame or before that. And then for Solo, I was thinking, we got a little bit of a gap there between the end of Solo and the beginning of A New Hope, where you could put some stories in there. Then the question becomes, I would say they'll probably, if they did that, they would probably have some voice actor do Han's voice rather than bring in Aaron Reich, because that would piss everybody off, I guess, because I like Aaron Reich, but I'm one of the few. But
I liked him too.
Yeah, but I think it would be fun to do Tales of the Scoundrels because you get these backstories. Some of the backstories on both those characters, a little bit fleshing out of their characters would be kind of fun.
You think there'll be an announcement for the Lando movie?
That's another one I had on my list, but I don't know if they'll do it this year. I mean, it certainly is something they're writing, right? They've actively said they're writing and working on him and his brother. But I mean, who knows when that's going to actually come about?
Yeah, I love Solo. It's my comfort Star Wars movie. I'm okay if we don't get a continuation with Lando. Donald Glover did a great job. Lando's not my favorite character. So I was okay when the TV show was kind of, maybe not. I'm all right if a movie comes out, but it's not one that I'm kind of hyped for.
You like him more as a secondary character than the main lead, maybe?
I don't know. Just the character in itself I've never gravitated to Lando, even in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. He's a cool character, but not one that I relate to, and maybe that's on me. So I would prefer a continuation of the Solo timeline, or with Solo to be involved. Yeah. But there's so much other Star Wars movies that are supposedly out there in the stratosphere that I don't think Lando is the one that we need right now. When we talk about, hey, we need wins, we need to stack wins. Lando, really? Okay. I don't know. I'm not paying $25 tickets by the time Lando comes out in 2035. I was going to say,
what if Disney started putting, like they made like a smaller budget Star Wars movie, like $100 million Star Wars movie, and it was a Disney Plus release every Christmas.
Hey, I'll take that. I haven't seen it yet, but Star Trek just did that in Paramount with one of their made-for-TV movies, Section whatever.
31.
Yeah. Heard it's not great, but...
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
I'll be fine with that. If that's where Disney Plus is going to, then I'm okay with it.
I do like the Lando character, and I do like what Donald Glover did with him. I can see what you're saying, but in an interview, he was talking about how he really wants it to be like he was like, Star Wars is fun. I want this to be fun. Yes. And that was his main driver. So that's why I thought it could be an interesting project, because I think it'll have a lot of humor and cheekiness to it, which would be kind of fun. Mm-hmm. A little nod to the old Star Wars. So I could see them pulling that off. And he and his brother are great writers, with what they've done with Atlanta and all that other stuff. So
Yes.
I just think I'm up for it. I get why it's not top of your priority list. I understand that. I just don't think we'll see anything of it this year. I think that's going to be maybe something we think about next year. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that was all I had. Spaceballs 2 goes into production, maybe.
I'll take it.
Coming out next year.
The search for more money.
Yeah, I think that was all I had. So yeah, unless you guys have anything else, we can wrap it up. It's been great to have you on, Alberto. Like I said, been a long time wanting to get you on the show, and we'll have to have you on again. And if for those who don't listen to Radio Rebellion or don't know about it, please go check it out. You and Odie do a great job with that, breaking down all the Star Wars. It's a fun show. It's funny. You guys, I think, are somewhat in the same vein as we are in the sense that, hey, we understand not everything's perfect. There's certainly things to pick on here, but try to kind of lean into the stuff we like more than the things we don't like.
Yeah.
It just makes it more interesting for me. I mean, I know a lot of people get a lot of subscribers and make a lot of money on hating, but it's just not the way we kind of want to talk about Star Wars because it's something we're a fan of. So just sitting there and shitting on stuff isn't all that great. Granted, Jay pulled no punches with Resistance.
And I will never will.
And there's going to be a project like that every now and again. But for the most part, you find the good in the stuff. And that's what I appreciate about your guys' show. Can you remind everybody like how best to find your show and find you on social media and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, thanks again, Matt and Jay, for having me on. It's been a blast. Sorry you got me on that week that I'm sick, but
you powered through.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have been here. And same thing, we'll work on something to get you guys on our show when we come back. But yeah, we say the same way. We love Star Wars. We don't take it too seriously. At the end of the day, it's a guy walking with a talking bear and a little green Muppet. So Star Wars is dumb. If you think about it, it's pretty dumb. And we lean into that. And we love all that weirdness and crazy stuff that some people might, why it's the pirate, a dog. Who cares? It's fun. So we go into it.
You're starting to sound like the ex-wife.
So we go into it with what did we like about it. And if there's stuff that we didn't like, we'll talk about it respectfully. And explain why maybe it didn't work for us. But yeah, why we're gonna waste time just dunking on things that we didn't like or we thought that sucked? Maybe we say, we didn't gravitate to that, but we did love this thing over here. Let's talk about it. So that's how we go into Star Wars. I'll repeat again, we do our live shows usually Saturdays on YouTube. You can just search Radio Rebellion Podcast. It will show up right there. We also release the audio podcast still on Mondays. That comes out Monday morning. So make sure that you're subscribed to our show. It's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any place where you listen to podcasts will be there. If you can give us a 5-star rating and review, we love those. Again, we're taking a little hiatus. We'll be back early February for Star Wars Podcast Day, which I believe is February 7th. We'll have an episode very similar to this, talking about 2024 and going to 2025. And then we'll be back with our regular shows. You can find us at Radio Rebel Pod in most social media sites, mostly on Blue Sky at the moment. We still have our account on Twitter and Instagram. We'll still post there, not as much, but we're still there. But you can search at Radio Rebel Pod in those 3 places. And again, our website, radiorebellionpodcast.wordpress.com, where you will find all my book reviews. And sometimes I put news items there, but mainly that's the main place where I do my book reviews. If you want to, there's a non-spoiler review right now for Reign of the Empire, and then a spoiler review will come out when the book releases next month. So again, Thank you so much for inviting me. It was extremely fun.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Hey, and congrats on the 5-year anniversary.
Oh, yes. Thank you. 5 years, starting season 10 when we return, which is incredible to think that we've been doing this for 5 years. But it's been great. I've been able to meet great people like you guys, great opportunities, again, that I never thought were going to happen. Just, hey, I love Star Wars. Let me put a camera in my face and talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's, for people out there that maybe like myself, I used to listen to podcasts and YouTube shows, and they were saying things that I didn't agree with. And I'm like, well, actually, no, this is where that works.
It's where it starts.
I'm not going to get invited to those shows. Let me make my own.
Yeah.
And 5 years, I'm still doing it in my home. And sometimes I get Star Wars books thrown my way. So if you guys, anyone listening out there, you want to try it, just do it. Everything is positive. Even if you get one listener, that's more than you had if you didn't talk about it.
Right.
So,
and there's not enough Star Wars podcasts out there.
no, we need more.
There are not. We need way more.
Just coming up with names, just making sure no one has taken your name is the worst thing ever.
Right?
That's right. Yeah, and be careful, as we've talked about on this show, about what you do with your logo, because that might get flagged by Lucasfilm.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That happened to us.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. We needed a refresh anyway. It was literally something that Jay jotted down on a napkin at a bar, I think. And
Oh, wow.
took a picture of it, sent it to me, and I had somebody make it for us. But yeah, the new one we like more. So
All right.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Alberto. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Good to meet you.
Thank you again, Alberto. Great talk. It was fun.
Yeah, it
fun
was.
finally having you on the show. Look forward to doing more recordings with you in the future. And definitely, like he said, check out their show Radio Rebellion. It's a fun podcast, and they're out. I mean, they're pretty consistent every week, getting their show out. Other than this little hiatus they're doing, so go check them out.
I'm fearful of that hiatus word. I feel bad that he used that at the end. I hope
I saw you gasp.
I hope it doesn't kick him in the ass. But hey, this was off air, and I'm not supposed to say this, but he is sending me the book early. So that's
You wish. I loved how every time we would ask him about a book, he would turn around and look at his bookshelf and be like, "Well."
I know. Yeah. Man, look at my free collection I've gotten.
Yeah, that's right.
Man.
Oh man, it was great to have him on though. Cool. We're going to try to have more guests on just because it's always fun to have other perspectives on and shoot the shit with them. So yeah, it's cool to have him on. It was great to hear him swear. Like I said, he never really swears on his show.
That one out, yeah.
But he
was in trouble with his kid.
Firing some heaters off on ours. I love it.
So that's it. We will be back. Are we back next week or are we back in 2 weeks? We're back next week, right?
Next week, yes.
We'll see you in a week, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time.
Laugh it up, fuzzballs.
We have spoken.